Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. It's wonderful to be back with you here on Points of Light Radio and continuing our journey to enlightenment and knowledge. If you recall, on my July 18th segment of Points of Light Radio, I fellowshipped with Sir Knight Thomas. He's a member of the Royal Black Preceptory, and he's also the Provincial Grand Master of the Grand Black Chapter of Ontario West. Now, just to briefly recap what we learned in that segment, or some of what we learned, the Royal Black Preceptory goes by a number of names. It's also known as the Royal Black Institution, the Imperial Grand Black Chapter of the British Commonwealth, or just the Black Institution. Like the Loyal Orange Lodge, the Royal Black Preceptory is a sectarian organization that was founded in Luwel County, Armagh, Northern Ireland in the year of 1797. If you recall, the Loyal Orange Lodge was founded 2 years earlier. And as I've often said, those dates are kind of fuzzy. There were lodges and preceptories around prior to those dates. Basically, 1797, or in the case of the Loyal Orange Lodge, 1795 represents, I believe, when they were actually consolidated as institutions. Now, although separate from the Loyal Orange Lodge, one must be a Purple Arch Orangeman to enter the Royal Black Preceptories. You also have to be Protestant and a believer in the supremacy of Jesus Christ. Now, the Royal Black Preceptory, one of their core interests or goals is the promotion of the Reformed Protestant faith. Right? Now, this makes these institutions different from most of the other non-sectarian organizations I have featured here on Points of Light Radio. Now, the Royal Black Preceptory is referred to many as the senior of the Loyal Orders. Now, if you recall, during a previous segment of Points of Light Radio, where I interviewed my friend from the Knights of Malta, he disputed this, right? Royal Black Preceptories is headquartered in Luwel County, Northern Ireland. Now, if you also recall, in a number of some previous segments of Points of Light Radio, I fellowshipped with my old friend, seems like an old friend now, Owen Snowden from well, like I said, he's from several different organizations. One of them was the Loyal Orange Lodge. And he did say in that particular segment that he was part of the Royal Black Preceptories. Now he's back here to talk about his membership in the Royal Black Preceptories today, as well as an exciting new book that he's written. If you recall my last segment, he'd written another book. So this is a different book. Yeah, this sounds, like I said, this sounds exciting. And you know, Mr. Snowden is getting to be part of the furniture around here, and it's great to have him back. So let's go talk to Mr. Snowden. But are you still searching for the light? Are you still hungry for knowledge? And just trim your lamp. Follow me. Sir Knight Snowden.
Pleasure to meet you again.
Right Radio. Welcome back to Points of Light Radio.
It's great to be back on.
Well, you're here to talk about the Royal Black Preceptory.
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about yourself first. Not that we don't already know a whole lot, but let's talk about that first.
Oh well, I'm Well, I run a page called Fraternal Masonic History, where I basically talk about the history of different fraternal organisations, such as the Royal Black Preceptory or the Orange Institute, or even Foresters, Oddfellows, Buffaloes, of every organisation. It's non-political, so I'll put any of fraternal organisation, no matter how bad it was, how good it was, whatever. It's all history, and history shouldn't be lost and forgotten. That's basically the motto of the page. Because a lot of this history and knowledge gets lost to time, and it's very sad that happens, but it does. And if I can stop and prevent a little bit of that, I'll feel a little bit and sleep a bit better at night. I'm in about several different organisations, from the Oddfellows to the Royal Antediluvian Order Buffalo to the Royal Black Preceptory to the Orange Institute, of course, as you'll understand why. To organisations like Freemasonry. I'm also in the Masons, the craft. So I would say I've got quite a good knowledge on these organisations, not to big myself up, but yeah.
But this fraternal web page you have, it covers organizations that even you're not involved in?
Oh, yes, like the Foresters. Great little organisation, a lot to do, I think, with Robin Hood and stuff like that. A great organisation, but sadly, I think a lot of it's still around. It's under it's a mutual aid society now, but sadly, it's I think their lodge side's kind of dwindled a lot. Also, there's soon to be a sneak peek, another post soon about the Scandinavian Order of America. So that's basically an organisation for Scandinavian people. Who wanted to integrate in American culture, which is very fascinating. I hold in those cabinets behind me quite a few assortment of their jewels and ribbons and finalia. Hopefully one day I can come on the show and show you around the museum.
Well, you're here to talk about the preceptories today. Which preceptory do you belong to?
Well, I belong to one in Hebburn in Newcastle upon Tyne in the United Kingdom, Great Britain, Northern Ireland, and Overseas Territories. It is called it's called the Knights of St. George 321. I don't think it was always called Knights of St. George. I think it was called the Star of Hebburn at one point, because in our lodge room, or in the Royal Black Preceptory, you call it a preceptory room. Inside the preceptory, there's a chest where we keep a lot of items and assortments for various degrees. For the lecture teams and lecture classes to be able to perform these degrees. Inside this, on this chest is basically the Star of Heaven, which I think and it has 321, so I think that was our predecessor's name. I don't know why it changed, but it did.
Probably an amalgamation of the different preceptories or something like that, but how long have you been a member, though?
I've been a member for about, I'd say 2-3 years. Sadly, I was a bit naughty, and what happened was I was going through the degrees. See, in the Black Preceptory, which I'll explain later on, the degrees system, there's 10 degrees. You work your way up. Basically, in England, you'll go through a degree a month, hopefully. If everything goes to plan, no COVID, nothing like that goes on, you can do a degree every month, and then till you get to the Red Cross, which can only be performed on a Good Friday. So basically, the whole thing is I went up to Scotland on a Orange Order parade, parading away, and then when I came back, I was told off by the lecture team in good spirit that you should have really came for your lectures. And I was like, I know, I've been a bit naughty. Slap on the wrist. But I'm now soon to be back in line with the lecture class. I'm up to the Royal White degree, which is the one right after, which I'll show you. One right after the apron, and this is the apron of the. Oh, hang on. Sorry, it's very bad because of the Zoom background. The apron of the Royal Black Preceptory.
Okay. Yeah.
The apron itself is you receive at a certain degree, and it is to be worn after that degree. I can't go into see the difference with this fraternal organization and many others is it's very secretive, and not in a bad aspect. I think it's more to keep the initiates and the Sir Knights very very curious of what the next degree will be about. So I don't think a lot of these degrees I can sadly tell you about. I can talk about certain aspects, but because a lot of it is to keep the Sir Knights curious to, what's going to happen at the next degree, or what's going to be about that, you know, what's it going to entail, you know.
Well, with the Orange, you always kind of, people would talk not necessarily about the degree itself, but there was a lot of information about, especially purple degree and stuff like that. People would always talk about, bring oats for the goat and things like that.
Yeah,
but with the black, there was a little more reverent and, like you say, a lot more secretive. I could not help but notice that.
Yeah, well, to be able in England and to be able to join the Royal Black Preceptory, you have to be a member of a separate organisation. Which is it separate? Yes, it is.
Yeah,
exactly. It is separate. It's separate, but you've got to be a member of an organisation called the Orange Institute.
Yeah,
which I'm a member of the Royal. I'm a member of Johnston Heroes 264.
Okay.
Which meets in heaven basically right after this preceptory meets. So once the Orange Institute Lodge meets, which is Johnston Heroes 264, then the Knights of St. George will meet. Their preceptory will hold its meeting. But at them, to be able to even join this, you have to be a member in England of the Royal Arch Purple degree in the Orange, which is a complete, in places like Northern Ireland and stuff like that, in Scotland, I do believe it's a completely separate order and degree altogether from the Orange. It's its own independent body. But in England, it's actually a third degree. So you've got your Orange degree, your purple degree, then your Royal Arch Purple degree. Then, after certain stuff goes on, you will then be approached by the preceptories, hopefully, and they will invite you to join a beautiful and great religious organization, which nowadays a lot of people frown upon religious organizations. I wasn't very religious as a child, but as I joined this organization and learn its beautiful degrees and its history and how very formal it is, and I came to love it. You know, it gave me a bit of that encouragement to find my inner faith, and which I can respect the institute heartedly for doing. Yeah.
Well, but do you hold any chairs, or are you on the lecture team or anything like that?
Well, to be honest, I don't hold office in the lodge at the current moment, solely because I'm not. I would like to, before do all the degrees. Once I've done all the degrees, then start the office. See, I think a lot of people jump in these fraternities and think it's a race. I've got to get to the end. I've got to be past master. I've got to do this. You don't have to rush. That's the best part about it all. Take your time, understand it. I made that big mistake in the Freemasonry, for instance. I joined Freemasonry, went through all three degrees, one every month, and I came to regret doing that. There's me Master Mason certificate, but I came to regret it because I didn't get to indulge and understand the stories and certain ritual and stuff a lot more. I would rather take my time and get to understand it better and take the knowledge in, instead of like going, right, I want to be past master, or I want to take office as a souvenir, or, you know, as chaplain. In a separate organization, which is basically its mother, the Orange, I would say, it basically, because you've got to be in that one to be in the other in England. So basically, I'm a deputy master in my lodge in Johnston Heroes 264. Hopefully this year, you never know, I might be made master, which I would be very honoured to be. But in the preceptory, it works very differently. Like, you don't have a Tyler, you have a Suvenal, stuff like that. There's a lot more different names to different offices and different roles, but it's very similar. I always strongly believe, though, when someone joins the Orange Institute, you should progress into the blacks. It's not it's not a different organization in the aspect of everyone makes out like it's completely separate. It's, in my eyes, in my personal opinion, it's the next step on the ladder to the next enlightenment of what the loyalist orders are about. So after you've done your Royal Arch Purple, you can then ascend up to Sir Knight or a Black Knight, which is and then you go through their 10 degrees, which are beautiful in all respect. It is a male-only organization, though. It's different from the Orange. So the Orange, you have lady lodges, male lodges, but then the Black Preceptory, it's only male.
Okay, but and I do partly agree with you, because if you look at Freemasonry, you can progress after your craft lodges to either the Holy Royal Arch or the Scottish Rite, or in many different areas. There's many appendant bodies of it, and I think that is good to have an appendant body of something like this. Or Oddfellows, you can go on, for instance, the Patriarchs Militant. It is good
which
to
is
have
a beautiful
the
organization.
idea, exactly. And it is good to have these extra appendant bodies, I think, to give someone a next step to take. I think you'll agree with me.
Exactly.
But do you notice a difference now? Have you fellowshipped with any of the members of, shall we say, the Canadian Black Preceptories, or say Northern Ireland, places like that? Do you notice the difference between the way it's practiced in those areas? And
yes, certain places I haven't visited these places yet. So this one day, hopefully I'll visit. But these I've noticed certain how can I say it? Like certain areas have different sashes. Let's say, like, you see, this is a Royal Arch Purple sash here. Sorry, not a Royal Arch Purple, a Black Preceptory sash. The reason this has no numbers on was because it was bought as a gift, and I love reusing old regalia. But on the aspect of, I've noticed like a difference in, say, Canada. You wear a lot more aprons and stuff like that for different degrees and stuff like that, and different, even down to jewels, which are on my chest. You have different ones completely and stuff like that. You've even got miniatures, I don't think miniatures have existed in Ulster or England or Scotland. But yes, I do see difference and some similarities, but they're all different from which part of the world you're from.
Okay, well, now you prayed on Scarva. What day is Scarva, and what is Scarva really all about?
Scarborough. I prayed. Oh, Scarborough. Oh, yeah. That's Black Saturday, isn't it? If I'm correct.
I believe so. Yeah, like the Orange have the glorious 12th, and then you have Scarva for the Black. What exactly is that?
It's basically the easiest way to put it is it's basically the Orange version of the 12th of July. I'm not going to lie, I'm not very knowledgeable on Scarborough, because I do acknowledge it and stuff, but I'm not very knowledgeable.
What day is it exactly?
How many days?
No, which day is Scarborough?
I think it's always on a Saturday.
Saturday, okay, yeah. Okay, and tell me, what is the makeup? You talk about your preceptory. What is the makeup of your preceptory? Is it young, old?
A mixture, to be honest. Actually, now pushing it, I would say young, middle. I don't know. Actually, I would say middle age. Okay. It's about middle age range. So it was one point an old preceptory, but as times got on, and sadly, as great members such as a member called Don Middleton, who is now actually the provinces of the Orange district is now named after. Sadly, when he passed away, we lost a great member there and a great Sir Knight. But to give him the respect and due, he did keep the preceptory going, with a lot of other members did. But as the older members have started to dwindle, I've noticed we've tried to push to get some newer members in, some new Sir Knights, and so I think our demographics have changed from an older stance of like older members to now a middle age, and I'm hoping one day we can have, to say, like middle and young and some old, Yeah,
it's good.
So there's a good mixture. So you've got the knowledge, you've got the ones what are wanting to go for collars, and then you've got the youthful, which is basically more blood into that. into that preceptory to keep it going for a lot longer.
Okay. Now, let's talk about your new book. What's it about?
Basically, my book is called the History of Joseph Grimaldi and the Joey Grimaldi Lodge 150. Actually, I attended their last ever meeting a few years back. It was sad it closed, but it survived over 100 years. It was one of the oldest lodge, because there is another called the Shakespeare 35, which I've talked about on this show before.
Yeah.
But there is another lodge called the Joey Grimaldi 150, which was an actors lodge as well. These lodges were for instance, the Joey Grimaldi was actually founded before there was a Grand Lodge of England. It was known as the Grand Primal Lodge of England. Their dispensation, which is a warrant, is dated 1885, which is a very historical date within the Royal Antediluvian Order of Buffaloes, because it was the day when the Great Split happened. So you had the Grand Primal Lodge of England, which was London based and all that, and then you had other ones break away, and you had the formation of the Grand Lodge of England came about. So there still is the Grand Primal Lodge of England. It's now known as Grand Lodge of England Limited, which I'm a proud member of, and a great part of the great section of the ROB, like all the sections are in my eyes. But yeah, the Joey Grimaldi, though, it was named after the famous Joey the Clown, which was a famous actor of the time who'd done a clown act. Charles Dickens actually quoted him, and now I'll need to remember the quote, but he quoted him on something. So for somebody to be quoted by Charles Dickens, you had to be that well known. But the book is also in dedication of a lot of deceased members. So there's a Roll of Honor inside, where not the degree, but the actual Roll of Honor, where it tells you about past members and stuff like that. It also tells you a bit of history in the 50s by a member called Albert Dewar, who basically kept that lodge going and tried his hardest to keep it going for many, many years, and big respect for him. So did another member called Jeff Raylan, who took up secretary and stuff sadly when Albert died, and they kept the lodge going as long as possible. Now, the one thing I always remember at the end when that lodge finally closed was I personally tried to help it keep going. I hate seeing such a lodge like that with history disappear.
Yeah. And
one of the members turned to me and said, "Look, son, because I live up in the north, so." And he says, "Look, son, at the end of the day, all good things have to come to an end." And I kind of like that, because it was like the show must end eventually, an act doesn't go on forever. It's got the curtain has to draw and things have to finish, The show can't go on forever. And that's what I liked. It was kind of that aspect of it's had its course, it's had its time, but it shouldn't have in my eyes, but it did. There wasn't enough. Sadly, in a lot of these organizations, the membership is getting so old, and we're not getting the young brothers in. And back in the day, it used to be something because now you've got young people who would rather sit in the house, play video games, which all respect to them, I play games. Yeah. But they also would rather go out on a night out and, go to nightclubs, and they don't want to sit in a room with a bunch of stuffy old men. And that's the nicest way to put it, and I'm one of them because I sit around with them. Yeah. But they should, because you've got a lot of things you can learn from these type of gentlemen and brothers. You can learn life lessons, you can learn life skills, you can learn knowledge what could be lost to time. This is why I run a page called Fraternal Masonic History, because I learn a lot of knowledge from these brothers, which, God forbid, the day happens when they go to the Grand Lodge above. You lose all this knowledge, and it's a very sad thing to lose, because this knowledge, they don't write down on paper. It's all kept in there, And this is why I think these books I'm creating, such as the Joey Grimaldi Lodge 150 book and the Shakespeare and a few others which are in the works, are important, because it's not just Buffalo history or fraternal history, it's cultural history, it's local history, and it shows you like for instance the Shakespeare 35 book. These books show you how people used to sit in a tavern, sit in a local inn, and say like as a cultural local group, and used to say like, look, we need to do something for the community, or look, we need to have a little fun. We've been working down maybe the mines for God knows how many hours, or maybe they've been, I don't know, working in a factory for so many hours, and this is their little bit of freedom, a little bit of break from that, from those tedious working hours. And I think it's important, if you get what I mean, like the cultural side. And that's why I think these books I'm writing are really important, because it doesn't just show the fraternal, it shows the cultural side of it all.
Well, let me ask you now, you say the RAOB has lost a lot of members and they're closing lodges, but the Freemasons are actually holding their own. In some cases, they're growing and they're opening new lodges. So why is that?
I think because you've got the mystery of Freemasonry there. You've got Dan Brown's books on that work. Like there is something for the young people to intrigue on. So you've got mystery. You've got, is it actually a secret society? Is it actually Illuminati and stuff like that? Which it isn't, but people's mindsets. Like I met a brother who thought it was actually like going to be Illuminati and stuff like that. But when he joined, he even came to love it, because he understood. It's not these creepy old men sitting in a lodge plotting to take over the world. It's literally just a fraternal organization, a bunch of men getting together, doing a few funny rituals, few songs, close the lodge, go down, have a festive board, which is just a meal, a nice little meal, fill the tummies and go home after having a couple of drinks. That's all it is. And the comradeship and the friendship he made, he loved it. And that's why he stuck to it. Now, I think a lot of the times as well, these fraternal organizations don't see what young people want or why they're joining. Like a lot of young people I've talked to actually join because in their world, we don't get to wear sashes, we don't get to wear aprons or dress like kings and princes and wear all this regalia and stuff, because that's not in our world. That's not reality. But in this world, within these lodges, it is. And a lot of young brothers and sisters do actually love that kind of stuff, and that's what I think they need to aim more at. Go back to the old days of where like they would wear like, I don't know, full regalia and lodge and stuff like that, instead of just. It's a shame, because
I think you'll agree with me. In my opinion, I think some of these outfits like the Oddfellows, the Moose, the Elks, things like that, I think they've been late in the game to boost their online presence. Like you don't see a whole lot of them on Facebook and Twitter. I go on my Twitter feed. I go on there and there's so many tweets and stuff on the Freemasons. It's unbelievable. All the lodges are putting posts up, but I don't see the Oddfellows and the Elks and the RAOB. Yeah, to be honest, no, they're not. Yeah, the RAOB is another one. You don't see them on there. They need to boost that online presence, because that's where young people go. You're right. You've hit a big nail on the head there. At the end of the day, they're not seeing the aspect of social media as such a powerful tool in this modern day. It affects politics. It affects so much of our daily lives. And I think these fraternities need to understand that this is a tool we could use in a very good manner to advertise us as, look, we're not Illuminati, we're not this. This is what the Freemasons do. And they're brilliant at it. They're brilliant at social media, making documentaries, even if like take Darren Brown's book on making them look like world conquering people in Illuminati and stuff. They use that to their advantage and says, no, we're not. Come visit us. When you come join us, and you'll see it's nothing like this. And they advertise it all, and they're not using social media. I get where you're coming from, and it's like I think a lot of it's down to the age range. A lot of them are technophobes. A lot of them are scared to use this technology. Yeah, I know. I noticed that. It's terrible. You can't even get them on a Zoom interview, most of them. Yeah, it's sad. They're like, what's Zoom? And you're like, what there should be is, and I'm highly for this, so all these organizations should have a social media, like some do, but they should have a social media like call of office, where basically not official, like maybe unofficial,
but it's just so they can someone professional, so they can run these certain like advertisements. And because some of them are hideous when you go on some of these websites and you see they've got like a 1990s spinning like I don't know, Buffalo Oreo based logo, and you're like, how it's not 90, it's not 20 years ago, you know. No one's going to be like, oh, look at this, that's crazy technology, you know. No one cares about that. They need to start making slick websites, nicely laid out, easy and simple to lay out.
And get on Facebook and Twitter
and get on Facebook
and have
and
someone
stuff
to administer it. Have someone to get on there and have it regular. Like some of these guys, some of these outfits have a Facebook page, but they haven't posted anything in like 8 years.
Since 2012. Yeah. Yeah. And then when they post something, they're like, this page closed down long ago, it hasn't been active. And you're like, well, activate it, start getting membership. And they wonder why the membership's dwindling when they're not getting out there and going to the common man and saying, join. This is the reasons why you want to join. Instead, they'd rather hide away and say, no, technology's too scary, you know. Get out there, show yourselves. It's like I've slowly tried to get my province in the area, from North East Durham. I've tried to get it a bit more publicity by, like, say, Remembrance Sunday, which is coming up soon, very soon actually. We parade actually on that through this town centre, alongside the Masons. So the Freemasons go in front of us, of course. And I actually discussed with them, I said, it would be lovely if for that one day, it shows unity in remembrance the fallen, which I think is a beautiful thing to do. It shows that, yes, we're different in philosophy and this and that, but on that one day, we're united just to remember the fallen. And it's, of course, it's also good for advertising through when you walk through the town with your aprons and sashes on, and people are saying, oh, there's the buffs. My granddad used to be in that. I might go and join that, actually. It must still be around, you know. It's we're not using it in that aspect, but it's also it becomes that aspect, if you get what I mean.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, back to your book, though. How much does it cost?
It's £3, basically. £3 a copy. I am still working on hardbacks. Same with the first one. I was thinking of actually doing a volume eventually, but what I'm going to do is basically I'll put it in the description. You contact my email. It goes through PayPal. They send it through the PayPal, the money, and then basically you contact the email saying, I wish to order a copy of the book. I try to make it simple as possible for like elderly members, so it's not too like, because a lot of them don't like online banking, which I totally understand. So they go on my email, type it in, say, I wish to request a book copy. I say, okay, send £3 to this email. They receive that. I receive that £3, goes into the email. I send the book, and that's how they get it. But all proceeds of this books don't just go to me to spend on like a luxury living life and stupid items like going down the pub and getting a couple of pints. All of it goes on making more books, so buying more items to add photos to the books. It also goes towards preserving our history, so maybe buy an important document, which then could be used and help to create more books. It's all about saving the history. That's the whole point of my books and my fraternal Masonic history page. All about saving our history. It's not just my history, it's yours.
Excellent. Well, you know what? On that note, I appreciate your time tonight, and I definitely will. You send me the link to that book. We'll put it up in the description, and I hope to have you back. Well, we're going to have you back here soon. We're going to talk about the Oddfellows in the UK next time. How about that?
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have yourself, Sir Knight Snowden, brothers and sisters. You know, we had a great discussion there. It's always great having him back here. It really is. But this particular segment, we had a great discussion, not just an interview, not just a conversation, but it was a discussion. And, you know, not just about the Royal Black Preceptory or about his book. We had that discussion on fraternalism, and he raised a lot of the questions that I've been raising all along, not just in my one-on-ones that I've had with you, but with many of my guests, right? And it's, like I said, I've had it in other segments, but there may be a segment that we are going to have, shall we say, a much more in-depth discussion on that. And maybe that's a future segment there, like I said, where I will have from the various different fraternities on here, where we will discuss this. You know, how can we draw millennials into fraternities other than Freemasonry? I mean, it's beautiful that they're joining that. It really is. But why are they not joining the Moose? Like I keep saying, the Elps, the ROB, so many of these different fraternal organizations. Why are they not joining those, right? And of course, let's remember as well, when we're on the topic of the loyal orders, why are more of the loyal orders not joining, shall we say, the Knights of Malta? Why do many of the people from the loyal orders fail to progress up to the Black Preceptories or, these true blue temperance lodges that are out there? Why are they not joining those, right? I mean, it's something we have to start asking ourselves here. And I like I said, maybe that's a topic for a future where we'll focus just on that. And I'll bring some people in from various different fraternal organizations, and we'll discuss that. What are the Masons doing that's working, right? And I actually had, if you recall, with the Free Gardeners from Germany, when I had my friend Herr Grippo on here, he talked about how that particular Free Gardener organization he belonged to, that particular lodge, had not only right in the very at the very eye of that hurricane called the COVID pandemic, they not only maintained their numbers, they grew. What were they doing? I want to know about that, right? And I love how Sir Knight Snowdon's goals are exactly the same as mine. We need to preserve the history and raise the profile of these various fraternal organizations, right? That's his goals really line up with mine. Perhaps that's why he's so great at coming on here, right? This is great. And we'll definitely be taking a further look, as I keep saying, at the loyal orders. We will definitely, you will see the link for his book as well in the detail section, as well as his webpage of this particular segment of Points of Light Radio. And I keep saying this, if you are in the Independent Loyal Orange Institution or the Apprentice Boys, I haven't covered you yet, as well as the True Blue Lodges. I haven't covered you yet. I want you to get your leadership to contact me, because we have a lot to discuss here, as you can see, and there's nothing to be afraid of. I'm not going to ask you to, say anything on here that you're not supposed to. I'm not going to try to even draw it out of you. Okay. This is just, I want to know about your experience in these things, but I'm afraid that's all I have time for today, brothers and sisters. But before I go, as usual, I want to remind you that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. And I also welcome your comments and input. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. My Twitter handle is at PO Light Radio. You can see the link to my Spotify channel, as well as my Points of Light Radio store. And I want to point this out again. You can see the link to Sir Knight Snowdon's webpage, as well as his book. Brothers and sisters, I'm sorry to part with you, but I will be happy to meet again with you very soon. But until we meet again, just step into the light.